Have you been following Bitcoin lately and what's going on in the world? And I can't tell you how excited and how bullish I am about Bitcoin right now. And you're probably looking at the screen and looking at this chart and saying, Jeremy, but the price of Bitcoin seems to be dropping. Well, let me show you why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin and why now is probably the best time ever that you should be getting into Bitcoin. But I'm not looking at what it's gone up in the last 24 hours or what's happened in the last 3 months or 6 months. I'm bullish about the future. And what I'm about to show you, I believe, is going to blow your socks completely off. And I don't know whether you've been hiding under a rock recently, but the lawmakers, United States House Committee on Financial Services, the lawmakers take Bitcoin into the future. And I want to share with you in this video. I've got something that I want to share with you. You must carry on watching because I'm about to show you what's been happening over the last couple of days and why I'm so bullish with Bitcoin right now. I don't know whether you've seen this article on CoinDesk, okay? The link you'll find in the description. Basically, the lawmakers have been sitting and discussing Libra, which is Facebook's coin, which is not a cryptocurrency, which is not decentralized, and is not a patch or even going to come close to Bitcoin, okay? And they've also been discussing, the lawmakers have been discussing Bitcoin. And first, what I want to do is I want to give a big shout out to this lady here. I would recommend you follow her because you're going to see how she supports Bitcoin and how she's taking the Bitcoin and blockchain technology to the government to change their way of thinking, to change the way that they see Bitcoin. If you've not watched this 6-hour video, highly recommend. But what I've done is I've taken the best parts out of this video and I'm going to share them with you right now.
Now I'd like to recognize Ms. Demirors. You are now recognized for 5 minutes to present your oral testimony.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Tlaib, Ranking Member McHenry, and members of the committee. My name is Meltem Demirors, and I am Chief Strategy Officer of CoinShares, a digital asset management firm that operates across 4 jurisdictions, including the United States and the European Union. As of today, we manage $800 million in assets on behalf of thousands of investors. I'm also here to share my insights as a business owner, an investor, an advocate for and user of cryptocurrencies. Today, I'd like to discuss cryptocurrencies, mainly Bitcoin, emphasize why Bitcoin is different from Libra, and outline what that means for innovation here in the United States. So let's start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the best known, most valuable, and most established cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is 3 things. Bitcoin is a technology, Bitcoin is a network, and Bitcoin is also a cryptocurrency. Now, Bitcoin as a technology is not regulated. Much like the internet, the Bitcoin network could be considered a public good. However, the companies being built to provide products and services on top of the Bitcoin network are subject to regulation in their respective jurisdictions. Over the last 5 years, I've built 3 investment firms and invested in over 150 cryptocurrency-focused companies in over 30 countries. Fully over half of those companies have been incorporated in and operated from the United States of America. The United States enjoys a robust, well-developed capital market and boasts a long track record as a place where innovators can build businesses. These 150 companies now employ nearly 5,000 people in cities like San Francisco, Charlotte, New York, Boulder, Austin, Atlanta, but also London, Singapore, Zurich, and Berlin, just to name some. Cryptocurrency has reached a point of inevitability. It is inevitable that the Bitcoin ecosystem will continue to grow and contribute to the digital economy. The question is where? The traditional approach of drawing a regulatory perimeter, which has been used in the past to establish jurisdiction, is challenging to apply in this digital world that is not constrained by the physical borders of the past. We're seeing a wave of interest in cryptocurrencies and countless imitators which borrow some features of, but are decidedly not cryptocurrencies. Libra is not a cryptocurrency. I'm not here to pass judgment on Facebook or its efforts, and I commend their altruistic aspirations, but they are just that, aspirations. First, Bitcoin is decentralized, which means no entity or group has the power to block or censor the use of the network. Libra is centralized. A small group of companies will have the ability to block and censor transactions. Second, Bitcoin is its own asset, backed by its own scarcity and the demand for it. There is no entity that holds assets that give Bitcoin value. Libra, in contrast, is backed by a pool of assets that are domiciled abroad. Asset management is a regulated activity. Lastly, Bitcoin is permissionless, meaning anyone in any part of the world has the ability to enter and exit the network without requiring permission. Libra is permissioned. The Libra network is controlled by a private group who will determine who has permission to access this network. The Bitcoin network supports thousands of companies all around the world. Libra benefits one entity, Facebook. Facebook is not a public entity. It's a privately owned for-profit company. Libra may represent an exciting opportunity for Bitcoin, but it cannot and should not be compared to Bitcoin. Like the internet, it is critical that Bitcoin remains open for permissionless innovation. Companies here in the United States serve tens of millions of customers, service billions of dollars of regulated legal commercial activity, and employ thousands of people who are building on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency networks. While the Bitcoin community is global, we should endeavor to keep companies here in the United States regulated under our laws where benefits accrue to the American people and the economy, not to foreign jurisdictions. The decisions you weigh now will determine the future of these open, permissionless technology networks and capital formation. That future is not 5 or 10 years away. It is here and it is now. I urge you to view Bitcoin as open public networks that enable innovation and growth, and to treat Libra and its future imitators, and there will be many, in the context of the facts, private efforts led by corporations holding billions of dollars of the public's money. These things are not Bitcoin and are not cryptocurrencies. I thank you for your time and look forward to your questions.
The gentleman from North Carolina, the ranking member, Mr. Henry, is recognized for
my question for you is about the outline you've given in your testimony. So you make the distinction between Libra and cryptocurrencies. So let's talk about cryptocurrencies, okay? Because in many respects, when you have the President of the United States, the Secretary of the Treasury, and the Chair of the Federal Reserve in the same week talk about cryptocurrencies, a decade after Satoshi wrote the white paper. So it's probably a decent thing to draw attention to the industry, right? So how long have you been in the wider crypto or digital currency space?
I've been working in the digital currency space professionally for the last 5 years, and individually as a member of this open source global community for the last 7 years.
Okay, so let's talk about the opportunities of cryptocurrency. Innovation is happening, and it's happening everywhere across the globe.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned, though, that there are challenges working in the United States. What are those challenges right now?
The primary challenge is the lack of jurisdictional and regulatory clarity. I do commend many of the regulators here in the United States that companies interact with. I personally have interacted with the CFTC, the SEC, the IRS, OFAC, FinCEN, law enforcement, state banking regulators, and a host of other policymaking bodies and enforcement agencies. But even in the characterization of cryptocurrency, there seem to be key differences. The SEC has long deliberated whether cryptocurrencies are securities or not, and has reached the conclusion that Bitcoin is not a security. The CFTC treats Bitcoin and some of the products around Bitcoin as a digital commodity, if you will. In contrast, the IRS treats Bitcoin and digital currencies as property. So this inconsistent treatment makes it very challenging for companies to determine how to operate within the existing regulatory frameworks here in the United States. It costs a tremendous amount of capital for these early stage companies to hire lawyers, to find experts, and to come here to DC to speak with their representatives on these important topics. So this is a big concern to me as an investor.
What's the key takeaway as a policymaker? How do we ensure that innovation is going to happen here in the United States as opposed to some foreign regime?
We need clear guidance.
Mr. Demirors, you've highlighted a lot of background information about Bitcoin and about the immutable distributed ledger and the benefits of that, decentralization versus centralization. You know, a lot of people in this space will use a phrase that you may be familiar with. There's Bitcoin and then there's shitcoin. Are you familiar with that phrase and what people might mean by that?
I am.
So could you elaborate on how people would differentiate the two?
Absolutely. I think the idea here is Bitcoin has had a long track record. The network has been operating for 10 years. The Bitcoin network has been tested. The decentralized nature of the Bitcoin protocol has been tested. People have tried to co-opt control of Bitcoin source code and push it in certain directions that benefit their business models. And this network and this protocol and its open source governance have withstood that test. It is robust, it has been tested, and it has had the benefit, frankly, of spending its first 5 years in its nascency, sort of operating in this environment of innovation and not having a lot of regulatory attention.
Is there a central authority that could dilute the value of Bitcoin?
No.
Is there a central authority that could filter transactions at Bitcoin?
No, that can only be done through the products and services that people utilize to access the network.
Like Coinbase, for example.
Absolutely. That is a U.S. company that is regulated based on the facts of what its business model is.
Now can you see why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin right now? If you would have said just 2 years ago, would we be in this position where we're discussing Bitcoin with the lawmakers, then people would have just laughed at you. Bitcoin has had an amazing journey over the last 10 years. I got involved in Bitcoin about 3 years ago. This is your time. Join me, join all the other Bitcoin owners, and if you're the person that sees the future the way I do, it's rosy and it's bright. You have an amazing day. Below the video, you're going to find all the links to all the resources that I've covered in this video. Happy trading, and I'll see you in another video. Keep buying those Bitcoin and holding on to them. Bye now.